I was very tempted to play back my closing on Friday's show where I basically said, I think there's a good chance we're going to war. Here's why, and I think we did go to war for those exact reasons. Can it be quick? Can it be surgical? And can we end up having all of those great benefits that deposing the Ayatollahs could have? That's the question, and I'm going to give you all the details of what I know about what's going on. I'll try to give you some insight into what I believe the White House's thinking is. Some of this is me dot connecting. Some of it is what I've been told from people on the inside and where I think things could be headed. And then I want to talk about the political implications of all of this, because this one is very much a mixed bag politically. I think there's a lot of, I would say, risk politically with this move by President Trump. But overall, I want to start with the positive thing, which is that for 47 years, the Ayatollahs, ever since they came to power after the Iranian Revolution, have singled out America, and not just America, really a lot of Western freedom in general, and have tried their best to dismantle it. Whenever there's been terror all over the world, they have funded it. They've been behind so many, if not all, of the major attacks to one degree or another on the West over the last half century. And now there's going to be something different that is in place. How much better will it be? That, of course, is an open question. But Donald Trump laid out 3 specific things that Iran needed to do last year in a letter. This is crystal clear. He said no nuclear program. He said no ballistic missile development, and stop supporting terror proxies around the world. What have we seen since then? Continued support of terror proxies. We've seen Iran's nuclear program continue, even despite the successful Midnight Hammer attacks. Iran was, as recently as last week, was saying flat out, we're enriching to 60% and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I know a fair bit about President Trump. I know him fairly well, not as well as some, but one thing I know for sure is that if he requests something and you just give him a flat out no, that is a big risk you're running, because he doesn't like that. He doesn't like to look like a fool. He doesn't want to look like a cuckold. And so if he flat out says, don't do this or else I'm coming for you, and you dare him and you say, oh, we're going to do it anyway, he's going to come for you. I don't think it's a coincidence that we went after Maduro right after he was pictured dancing over and over again in the media. I don't think Trump likes that stuff. He pays very close attention. He's extremely hypervigilant. And so he said flat out, you're not going to enrich. And they said, despite most of their nuclear capabilities being taken offline, despite the fact that their air defenses were completely depleted, they went out and said, we're going to enrich to 60% anyway, which is inviting an attack. And then we start pushing all of those troops, all those carriers near Iran, and they still are undeterred. The rhetoric stays the same. Now, I don't know why that is necessarily. I don't know if they had a death wish, because there is a death cult element to that regime. More on that momentarily. But overall, they pretty much telegraphed that they were going to invite an attack. Trump was telegraphing that he was willing to do it. The Maduro raid, I think, set predicate for that, as well as the huge military buildup we had around Iran. And that we already had the Midnight Hammer attack. So he had proven he was willing to take decisive action. Not to mention, and these clips have been all over the internet, maybe I'll play some later, but going back to when Trump came down that escalator, which is almost 11 years ago, he was talking about his desire to bomb Iran. And it's a desire that I certainly understand. I don't like prolonged wars. I'll speak to that a lot in the days and weeks to come. But overall, the Iranian regime did untold amount of bad to this country, to the West, and to people who are our allies, trying to disrupt global markets. They're, of course, aiding China in a major way. All roads lead to China. As much as 90% of Iranian oil exports went to China. Chinese getting oil at a cut rate from Iran, making both countries stronger. That's not in America's national interest. And then we'll see the threats continue, but the nuclear threat is so essential. Because if Trump is to be taken at his word, and I certainly do, and if the Iranian government is to be taken at their word, which is mixed, but they keep saying they want 60% enrichment, it means they want a nuclear weapon. And when they've been talking for years about how they want to wipe America off the map, how America is the great Satan, then it's imperative that we make sure they do not get a nuclear weapon. One thing that we do as a people is we choose to spend most of our time ignoring the devastation that a nuclear holocaust would cause. But within a matter of a couple hours, you could see tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people killed in this country if we had a nuclear World War III. A nuclear World War III would probably result in, I don't know, maybe 2 billion deaths. It'd be the end of the world as we know it. And if a regime over and over again continues to say that they want nuclear weapons and that they think America is satanic, then it does sort of feel like it's a big imperative to make sure they never get remotely close to nuclear weapons, correct? And it's very hard to predict or project whether or not Iran would be careless enough or foolish enough to ever do something like that, even if they had the weapons. You have to take them at their word. They keep saying they want America wiped off the map. They keep saying they hate Israel, they hate the West. And they're clearly willing to die for that cause. Clearly, obvious. This week made it more clear than ever. Then it's pretty crystal that one of the best things Donald Trump could do as president is to make sure they do not get nuclear weapons. So he goes in, and it's a surgical attack. High-level military targets at first, IRGC, Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps targets. Trying to eliminate nuclear threat, that's number one. Trying to destroy ballistic missile production, that's two. Trying to take out as many of their top military leaders as he can. And it sounds like he took out a lot. There's many of them. There's many, many generals. So they'll be able to stand something back up. But he's trying to prevent Iran from arming, funding domestic terrorism, global terrorism, and getting nuclear weapons. Seems like a noble goal. Now, I will offer my point of caution here. Politically speaking, there is zero imperative for President Trump to do any of this. There's virtually zero political upside. Is it the right thing to do in terms of integrity? Is it the right thing to do for peace and preservation of the West? I think probably. Is it the right thing to do to keep Americans in the West safe? I think probably. Don't know for sure, but probably this was the right move. But politically, then it gets very complicated because obviously the people who are on the left, and we've seen examples of this, I'll play some on the show, hate what Trump did. They hate the idea of Trump getting any victories, even if it makes America safer. You saw people in the Democrat Party and the establishment media clearly siding with the Ayatollahs. And I'm being specific, not the Iranian people, because we saw demonstrations throughout the streets, both in the Western world and in Iran, that were happy about what happened, delighted about what happened, feeling as though they had freedom. So you're going to get a lot of people, though, who are going to be rooting against Trump. I bet you're going to see articles of impeachment come up. That's going to come up soon because they just want Trump to fail at all costs. And there's a lot of people in Trump's base, a lot of people who read my website, Breitbart.com, every day and comment on our pages that do not like this because they've been burned too many times. Too many times we thought that we were going to go in the Middle East and we were going to do something strategic. Things are going to get safer, and it's always failed. Always. But President Trump is different. He wants an aerial attack. He wants a surgical attack. And if this thing can be over in a matter of a few days, then I think he believes that we're going to be looking back on this in the next couple of weeks or couple of months and think it was just another W for Trump. So that is what the president must get done if he wants to save face politically. Because if this is a prolonged thing, if there are boots on the ground, if a lot of Americans get killed, then it's going to be very hard to sell this to even his own base, much less people who are already haters of him. And remember, the never-Trumpers, they're not coming back. The left, they're not coming back. So he's got to keep that base coalition together, and he's got to be mindful of this. Because even though it looks like a successful attack as of now, things could change very quickly, and I'll give you some details on where I'm concerned. But he's got to maintain that base, because if he does not have that base support heading in the midterm election, it's going to be impeachment, investigation, bonanza, and any good that he did here overseas is going to completely shut down his domestic agenda, which is what the vast majority of Americans care about. So much more to do today, but I don't, it's not on the screen. So as usual. Okay. All right. So more things that I want to talk about here. One thing that here is crystal to me from observing the way the president has acted is that he wants to be a president of his word. And if you declare destruction against the United States, and you are a regime that has a record of terror against our people, if you have a record of taking Americans hostage, as they do, then he's going to be willing to do things like try to have a bombing campaign that is over before people even know it happened. And this will go on for a couple more days. It's not quite as simple as some of the other aerial attacks we've had in the past. But by and large, that's the strategy. And if he can stay focused and maintain that we're going in, we're bombing quickly, we're getting out without huge investment into what comes next, then he could have a victory here.